Amateurs chase motivation. Professionals, they build rituals. That's it. The whole podcast right there, one sentence. Every dealership has that one rep, right? That sales guy who is like hot for a week and then disappears for a month. Why? Because he is mood driven and not practice driven. Let me be blunt. You do not need another meeting. What you need is a rhythm that survives pressure and chaos and distraction. Because if you want pro-level results, then you have got to have pro-level practice. Because at the end of the day, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. I'm Chris Hunsaker, and this is the Dealership War Room, Leadership Fire, built daily, fueled intentionally, and delivered relentlessly. So today, let's dive in and start building your practice so you become unstoppable. This week, I've been trying to share with you the gems from Stephen Pressfield's book, Turning Pro. Let me give you one more insight that he just absolutely nails. The difference between amateurs and professionals lies in their habits. So let's make this dealership specific, and let's take a look at what does this look like, the difference between amateurs and pros inside a dealership. So here is what amateurs do. They roll in reactive. They spend their morning trying to catch up. They only train when things go bad, and they only lead when they feel like they're in the mood. On the opposite side, here's what pros do. They prep before the chaos ever hits. They protect their calendars, especially their commitments, and they build rituals that anchor execution. And they practice always, especially when it's uncomfortable or they don't feel like it. So Carla and I sat down and we built out a pro practice protocol, a 3-step formula, if you will, or protocol that we set up for her. Step number 1 was our morning practice, our morning prep, 7:10 a.m., 5 minutes to sit down. Who needs a call? What priority does it need to happen? And is there anybody that's going to walk in mad and upset that I can get prepped for right now? Number 2, a focus block, 9 to 10 a.m., 60 minutes, uninterrupted time. No walk-ins, just solid focus on follow-ups, CSI connection, and high-impact communication, the kind that drives revenue and creates gross profit. Number 3, a daily debrief at 4:45 p.m., a pencil and a piece of paper, and just a few minutes to write down what went well, what didn't, and what needs to roll forward into tomorrow, and that becomes part of step 1 tomorrow. Can you see how the protocol just rolls and feeds on each other day after day after day? She didn't become superhuman. She became consistent, and that made her dangerous. See, pros don't have better moods. They have better rituals that carry them through when motivation fails, because this is the truth. Motivation will always fail, but protocols never do. Let's build your pro practice protocol. Start today and design 3 non-negotiables. Number 1, the morning routine. You're going to take 5 minutes. You're going to decide what's the most important mission today. In other words, what has to happen today? WIN, what's important now? Number 1, most important thing that needs to get done. Then ask yourself, what communication has to happen today? What absolutely has to get communicated today? And then third, who on my team needs my leadership and not just my presence? Second commitment, a focused execution block, 60 minutes, uninterrupted time, and you protect it with all that you have. Same time every day, so your mind and your team know that this is your focus time. And you turn off your phone, and all you are focused on are these high leverage activities, follow-up, coaching, planning, review, and solving the hard problems that you never get around to. The third commitment is the daily debrief. At the end of the day, you've spent 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 hours in the store today, and you have worked hard. You need an ROI on that investment of time. And that will only come with this little part of your protocol. Pencil, piece of paper, and I want you to write down what went well and celebrate those successes. You might even need to fire off a few texts or emails to congratulate or thank people for what they did. Maybe even a little video, tell them how proud you are of them because you got so caught up in the day you never got around to doing it. Then, what needs work? What didn't go well? And then finally, what are you going to do differently tomorrow? How are you going to take the lessons and learning from today and invest them in tomorrow so tomorrow becomes a compounding interest of learning and not a repetition of the same old mistakes? Because quite simply, this is where most leaders fail. They work hard, but they have no rhythm. They have no protocol. And at the end of the day, practice is what separates those who perform once from those who perform always. I love Brian Johnson's wisdom on this. He and Phil Stutz talk repeatedly about the idea that once you have a protocol, the next most important thing is your emotional stamina, which is, can you get yourself to do what needs to be done when you don't feel like it? In other words, the least that you feel like doing a protocol, the more you need to do the protocol. That's how you build discipline. That's how you build identity. That's how you build power. The less you feel like doing your protocol, the more you need to do your protocol, which always begs the question, do you have a protocol? That's why I want you to follow through with today. Let's build this protocol and make something that you can start executing consistently and over time. So let's wrap up with one more gem from Pressfield, and let this sink into your heart and into your mind. Practice is the daily, deliberate execution of commitment, will, and focused intention. That's what practice is. And that's what I'm asking you to look at, to practice a pro protocol every single day. See, because you don't need to feel better. What you need is to show up like a pro every single day, especially when you don't feel like it. So we're going to wrap up this whole idea of Turning Pro Week with the most powerful tool that I can share with you, which is how do you now shift and build your identity. With that, please, if you know someone that really needs to get a protocol, that really needs a better practice, please share this podcast with them. If you have been putting off doing some of these activities and the challenges, and you're just listening but not getting to the point of taking action, do the most important thing that any leader will ever do, which is move from insight to action. That's a bridge that must be crossed every day, and it can only be done with behavior. So take the time, build your protocol, and then start executing it. And with that, I will see you tomorrow in the Dealership War Room.